بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن نهجهم بإحسان إلى يوم النشور أما بعد اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما اللهم معلم إبراهيم علمنا ومفهم سليمان فهمنا السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
We are still dealing with the chapter of the essence of Tawheed, and we read some ayahs and some hadith. Today we are going to start off from where we left off, and that will be another hadith that we are going to read, so that we get full understanding into the significance of Tawheed. You will realize that so many hadiths have been cited. A lot of ayats have also been cited just to point to the essence of what Tawheed. Now, so the evidence is overwhelming as far as Tawheed is concerned. Now, that is true Islamic monotheism. Now, so we are going to start from page 44, and we open up with yet another hadith. Go on.
بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما. قال المؤلف رحمه الله: ولهما أن سهل بن سعد رضي الله عنه أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال يوم خيبر: لأعطين الراية غدا لأعطين الراية أحسن الله عليكم لأعطين الراية غدا رجلا يحب الله ورسوله ويحبه الله ورسوله يفتح الله على يديه أحسن الله عليكم يفتح الله على يديه فبات الناس يدوكون ليلتهم أحسن الله. فتاب الناس يدوكون ليلتهم أيهم يعطاها. فلما أصبحوا غدوا أحسن الله عليك. فلما أصبحوا غدوا على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم كلهم يرجو أن يعطاها. فقال: أين علي بن أبي طالب؟ فقيل: هو يشتكي عينيه. فأرسلوا إليه فأتي به فبصق في عينيه ودعا له فبرأ كأن لم يكن به وجع. فأعطاه الراية فقال: أنفذ على رسلك حتى تنزل بساحتهم، ثم ادعهم إلى الإسلام وأخبرهم بما يجب عليهم من الحق لله تعالى فيه، فوالله لأن يهدي الله بك رجلا واحدا خير لك من حمر النعام.
This hadith is very powerful. ولهما عن سهل بن سعد رضي الله عنه أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال يوم خيبر. This hadith is what is transmitted by way of Sahal bin Sa'd. May Allah be pleased with him. أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قام يوم خيبر. The day of Khaybar, Rasulullah stood up, and what happened? He said, لَوْتِيَنَّ رَايَةَ غَدًا رَجُلًا يُحِبُّ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ وَيُحِبُّهُ اللَّهُ وَرَسُولُهُ. I'm going to give this banner. Of course, our Rasulullah was extending them for expedition on a campaign, to Khaybar. So our Rasulullah said, I'm going to give all this, hand over this banner of the Muslims, of the forces of the believers. I'm going to hand this banner to Ali in order to what? To spearhead the delegation, the campaign. Such a person, yuhibbuhu aw yuhibbu Allah wa rasulah. he loves Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his prophet. This man, this Sahabi, loves Allah and his prophet, his messenger. وَيُحِبُّهُ اللَّهُ وَرَسُولُهُ. And also Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves him, also his prophet loves him. Can we say that? Is there any such person, any such a believer among the companions who is not loved by the prophet and not loved by Allah? Allah loves them all. Allah loves them all. So this tells you what? It adds to the virtues of what? The man is going to have received this honor. It's an honor. It's an honor from Rasul that is to be bestowed upon such a person. We don't know the person yet. So as we proceed, we come to know who that person was. Yaftahullahu ala yadayhi. Allah inshallah will give victory through his hands. By him or through him, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will open or give them victory for the believers. فَبَغَتَ النَّاسُ يَدُكُونَ لِيلَتَهُمْ. When this message reached the companions, they stayed all the night. They were discussing among themselves, guessing who is among us who is going to have this honor, who is going to be the one that Rasulullah is going to give him what? The banner of the believers to carry ahead in the expedition. Ayyuhum yutaha, which among them will the banner be given to? The banner is going to be given to whom? We don't know. Falamma asbahu, and when it was morning, when they got up in the morning, because they spent their time discussing the issue. And when it was morning, what happened? Gadu ala Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They all went to our Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Kulluhum yarju an yutaha. Each one of them was hoping to be given this banner, was hoping for the banner to be given him in order to what? And this prestige and the honor and dignity of being the what? The vanguard, the spearhead, the marshal of the campaign, mashallah, the campaign of the believers. فقال, then Rasul has said that because they went to Rasul. So Rasul said, Aina Ali bin Abi Talib, Aina Ali bin Abi Talib. Where is Ali? Where is Ali? Maybe, obviously, he was not present among the batch of the Muslims who went to Rasul in the morning. Faqila, and it was said to Rasul in his presence. He was complaining of his eyes. He had complained of his eyes. Maybe he had an infection of the eye, and he was complaining of, that was previously, last night. He was complaining of his eyes. Now is the morning. فَأُرْسِلُوا إِلَيْهِ. And then it was sent. Some of the companions, أُرْسِلُوا إِلَيْهِ, they were sent to whom? To Ali bin Abi Talib, radiallahu anhu. So what happened? فَأُتِيَ بِهِ. And then he was brought. He was brought in the presence of our Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. فَبَصَقَ فِي عَيْنَيْهِ. Our Rasul sallallahu spit in his eye. Fi ayn. It is a form of cure, a form of ruqa that our Rasul did for Ali bin Abi Talib. وَدَهَلَ, and he prayed, he made salah, he made supplication. Our Rasul, he supplicated for whom? For Ali bin Abi Talib, because obviously he had an eye infection, he was suffering from the eye. That's why he was not among the first batch who went to our Rasul. Now, Fabari, and then he was cured. Subhanallah, the ailment that he sustained in his eye went away, disappeared instantaneously. كَأَنْ لَمْ يَكُنْ بِهِ وَجَعٌ, as though he had never suffered, or he was not suffering from what? From an ailment. As though he had never complained of an eye infection. فَأَعْطَاهُ الرَّايَةَ. So Rasul handed over to him the banner of the believers. فَقَالَ, and he said to them, Infudh ala rislik. Hold on. Take your time. Ala rislik means take your time. Hold on. Wait a minute. Nam. Hatta tenzila bisahatihim, until you get to their courtyard, the courtyard of the opposing army or of the enemies, until you get to their courtyard, within reach, get to them. ثم ادعوهم إلى الإسلام, and then the first thing that you do is what? If you get to their quarters, invite them what? To Islam. Invite them to Islam. طيب. وأخبرهم, and then let them know, inform them, tell them بما يجب عليهم من حق الله تعالى فيه. Inform them of the right of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Islam, on them, on him, and all of them, the entire human beings, the entire population who hear this word, it becomes incumbent upon them. That is a right from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to what? To obey Allah, to worship Allah, the Tawheed. It is Allah's right on them to what? To obey Allah, worship Allah by way of Tawheed. That's the first thing he mentioned. Now, for wallahi, by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, لأن يهدي الله بك رجلا لأن يهدي الله بك رجلا واحدا خير لك من حمر النعم. By Allah, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guides any one person by way of you or through you, what happens? It is better for you than red camels. Red camels. Now, this is the meaning of the ayah. Let us listen to what the Shaykh tells us, how he will elaborate, so that we can convey that to you. Now, قوله فبري, in the hadith, Rasulullah said, Bari. What does it mean?
ولم لهما in the previous page. That's
Next
where the
page.
sharh, not the previous page. That's where the sharh starts. ولهما عن سهيل.
Naam. So walahuma, yes, this is the word of the Sheikh, the explanation, his view. He said that sound. Now the hadith transmitted by Sa'd, that Rasulullah has said that لَوْتِيَنَّ رَايَ غَدًا رَجُلًا وَخَغْضُ الصَّحَابَةِ في من يطاع تمنيهم لها لأن الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم ذكر تعيين أن هذا الرجل يعني يحبه الله أو يحب الله ورسوله ويحبه الله ورسوله. It shows that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He loves Ali ibn Abi Talib. We have mentioned this already. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He loves Ali ibn Abi Talib. Ali ibn Abi Talib also loves Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Prophet. We have Laryea here. Laryea here means, listen to the Shaykh. فيها من علامات صدق النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. It shows the truth of our Rasulullah. We learned that our Rasulullah was Sadiq al-Masduq. Whatever comes from our Rasulullah is the truth. And our Rasulullah is to be believed also. Our Rasulullah, he tells the truth, is the truth, and to be believed as well. So when he says Fabaria, it shows that our Rasulullah is telling the truth, and it shows it's one of the signs and virtues and features of our Rasulullah that he says nothing short of the truth. Because when he says Fabaria, and then what happened? He became Ali ibn Abi Talib. He was killed. So our Rasulullah was telling the truth. That's one of the signs of our Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that he tells the truth always. وهي آية من آيات الله الدالة على قدرته عظيمة. This also shows or a clear manifestation of the might of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has power over all things. And this comes from what? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through our Rasul, and then finally Ali ibn Abi Talib was cured. So all health and cure comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. قوله على رسلك أي على مهلك. In other words, as we had said earlier, when you are talking to someone who said على رسلك, meaning hold on, be careful, take time. Now, or you can say hold your fire. Now, you have been warned. Don't rush, don't hasten على رسلك. بساهتهم أي بقربهم ليكون أشجع للمؤمنين وأرهن للأعداء وأرهب للأعداء. So if you go to them and you meet them right in their quarters, it will give you more encouragement. And at the same time, أرهب للأعداء, it will put some fear into the enemies. That will be conducive. Do not just keep talking to them from a far away point. Be close to them, not in their distant position. Get to where they are, their living areas, and then what? Talk to them. That will encourage what? The believers. And at the same time, it will what? Instill or put some kind of fear into what? In these believers, so that they will respond to the call. Now, أما البعيد فيضعف الجد ويشجع الأعداء. Because if you talk to them from far, it might weaken the efforts of the believers. On the contrary, it will encourage the opponents. قوله ثم ودهم إلى الإسلام. He has said that invite them to Islam. According to the Shaykh, وَلَوْ كَانُوا قَدْ دُعُوا مِنْ قَبْلُ. Even if they have been invited before, it doesn't matter. It makes no difference at all. You invite someone to Islam, oftentimes, as much as you can. You waste no opportunity. You squander no opportunity in inviting them to the deen. So, وَلَوْ كَانُوا قَدْ دُعُوا مِنْ قَبْلُ مِنْ بَابِ إِقَامَةِ الْحُجَّةِ وَكَمَالِ الْمَعْذِرَةِ. So, there will be no excuses. Evidence will be abundant, adequate enough. It's an indication that you have done your job, you have done your responsibility, so that is required. Not once, as much as you can. That's why I also said, Oduhum ila Islam, invite them to Islam. It's not just once, but continuously. وهذا يدل على أنه ينبغي الاهتمام بدعوة. This tells us that it is necessary that we get attached, we give a lot of effort, enthusiasm, but in the area of giving dawah to people, inviting people to Islam. وَلْتَكُنْ مِنْكُمْ أُمَّةٌ يَدْعُونَ لِلْخَيْرِ وَيَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَيَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنكَرِ. This ayah is very powerful also. Let there be a band of people among you who will take upon them the responsibility of what? Inviting to Islam, to that which is good, and forbidding that which is wrong and evil and sinful. Now, وَالْحِرِصُ عَلَيْهَا قَبْلِ الْقِتَالِ. This is the opinion of the Shaykh. Before you invite a people, you make sure that they understand what you are saying. You make sure that you are give them enough chance, enough information which has been embraced. And when they assimilate this information, then He says, قبل القتال. Subhanallah. قبل القتال, what is it?
Before killing them, fighting the war.
I don't want to use the word killing.
Before the
fighting.
battle,
Before
fighting.
fighting, no. Because this is struggling in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is fighting in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala just to let the word of Allah reign supreme. Now, this is in defense of Islam. Now, you just go to the people and then attack them and then kill them. No. Talk to them. Let them understand. Give them enough information and see how they respond. Sometimes their response may invoke, may necessitate, wallahu alam, this kind of killing or fighting. Now, طيب.
Fighting.
وَلَوْ كَانُوا قَدُوا لَعَلَهُمْ يَهْتَدُونَ. If you may have even given them dawah already, it doesn't matter, just give them. That is opinion. Continue to give them dawah. Now, وَيُسْتَحَبُ التَّكْرَارُ. It is commended. It is commended and recommended as well that you give them what? Frequent dawah. Let the dawah continue and don't rest on your oars. Keep on give the dawah, inshallah, repeatedly as much as you can. Our Rasul said that إِذَا أَمَرْتُكُمْ بِأَمْرٍ, what happens? فَأْتُوا مِنْهُ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُمْ. So it follows the same principle that give them as much as you can, inshallah. Now, إذا دعت الحاجة خاصة من اليهود الذين يعرفون الحق ولكنهم يحجبون الدنيا أو يحبون الدنيا ويحسدون المؤمنين. So that you should make the dawah frequently, especially among the Yahud who love the world so much. They are not, in other words, one dawah is not sufficient for them, but continuous dawah should be recommended here, now. And people like that, give them dawah as much as you can, especially if there's a need for it, now. In the opinion of the Shaykh, because they love this world, they love this dunya, and then hate the Muslims. Hate the Muslims. They love this dunya. So they are very much concerned with what? Activities of the dunya. So let the dawah be continuous. Now, this is opinion. Now, قوله فتح عينيه منقبة أخرى لعلي بن أبي طالب. Manqibah, that is a virtue, another feature of Ali, another privilege of Ali, another quality of Ali ibn Abu Talib, that as soon as Rasul talked to him, he gave him the ruqyah, he just opened his eyes. Now, it tells you that Ali, it adds to the word, the privilege, the nobility, the virtue, and the position, the pedigree of what? Ali ibn Abi Talib. Now, قالوا فوالله لأن يهدي الله بك رجلا واحدا خير لك من حمر النعم. That, what does it mean? That we have said that if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will guide one person through you, then it is much better for you than what? Than red camels. What does it mean? فيه إذن دعوتي إلى الله. في إذن دعوة إلى الله. It shows the value, the high status, the nobility of what? Dawah, giving dawah in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وأنها أهم من القتال. Then that dawah is better than what? Fighting. It's better than what? Fighting. You can say killing. It's better than that. بل هي المقصودة من القتال. But actually that is what is intended for qital. When you say qital, the intention is what? Is dawah. That is what is meant actually. what you can construe from qital or fighting is what? Dawah. That's why it's what? The goal. That's what is intended. ولذلك being said to Rusul. And that's why the Rusul, or the messengers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they were sent. When you are asked, why were the prophets and messengers sent? What is their mission? What is their responsibility? What is their task? Say Adawa. That was inviting toward the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, قوله همر النعم بدم الها. بدم الها, he says, what does it mean? He says what? Dom ha. Ha here is what? Who? He said who? Nam. Who? It's not ha, it's who? Nam. Humrun. Oskun mim hum. La dom ha. He did not say what? Dom ha. Humara or humuru. He did not say humuru. He said humuru. Nam. He wants to make sure that you are pronouncing it, because humur has a different meaning. When you say humuru, it's another meaning. Humuru is another meaning. But here, humuru, that is what? Camels. Involved. Nam. طيب. والمعنى أنه خير لك من الإبل الثمينة. It is much better for you than precious camels. You know, camels, when you are grading wealth, camel forms one of the most precious gains, accumulations of wealth among the audience of our Rasul, among the community that our Rasul was sent to. Now, so among all the creatures, among all the animals, camels are rated very highly indeed. Now, it's a precious camel. وفيه also, and we can also benefit from the fact that بيان أهمية الدعوة وتعليم الناس, this is being repeated, that it shows the importance and significance of dawah, and then teaching people also. فإن أبوا قتلوا ليكفى شرهم. If they did not, if they deny, if they refuse, if they did not respond, then there's no harm in fighting them. ولا يكونوا عقبة في طريق غيرهم. In other words, they don't become an obstacle in the paths of others. The reason why they may be eliminated if they do not respond to the call, so that they don't be like obstacles in the path of those who might respond to the call. That is the only reason. But the real goal, the intention is what? Is dawah. Dawah without obstacles. There should be no hindrance. Nothing should hinder or impair the progress of the dawah. The dawah is marching. It has to go on. Dawah what? To establish what? The monotheism, Tawheed of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And nothing shall what? Come in this path now. وَيُسْتَعَانُ بِهِمْ بِأَمْوَالِهِمْ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. And then, in order that their wealth might be, inshallah, might be used to enhance the call, for enhancing the call of the deen. The deen is to what? The deen is inviting towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All these resources belong to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah has the right that all of us worship Him. Now, why should we impede the what? The progress of the caravan that is inviting towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The whole universe belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whatever in it. Allah lillahi mulku samawati wal ardi. Alaysa kadhalik? No, Allah, to Allah belongs the sovereignty of what? Of the heavens and the earth. And what Allah loves, the first thing, the most important thing that He enjoins upon us, He enjoins upon us Tawheed. Now, so who is there to hinder the progress of this Tawheed, the dawah? Now, therefore, it stands to the justice of the deen that no obstacle must be set up in the path of dawah. Now, قوله لأن يهدي الله بك رجلا واحدا خير لك لا مانع من أن يعم الحديث حتى المسلم العاصي. This hadith is general. Now, it is anyone who invites, not necessarily be a Muslim, anyone who invites what the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whether you invite a Muslim or a non-Muslim, a Muslim, it doesn't matter. It's generally speaking, anyone who undertakes upon himself to what? To invite towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the manner chalked out, explained by Rasulullah, is entitled to this word, reward. Now, ويجوز أن يباغتهم بالحرب. Mubaghata, that is, subhanallah, to invade instantaneously, whether awareingly or not awareingly. You can say preemption, if you will. With what? With fighting. How? He has his opinion. This is his opinion. ويجوز أن يباغتهم بالحرب إن بلغتهم دعوة. In balagatum adawa, if the dawa has what? Has come to them, but what? They refused and they place obstacles, then they might be what? Invaded. Because it has happened before. كما غار النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم على بني مصطلق. What is the issue of Beni Mustalik? Beni Mustalik, they are people, it's an area, and then they started to plot against Rasulullah. They started spying, trying to overcome the Rasulullah and the companions in Medina. So the word came to Rasulullah. So Rasulullah immediately what? Sent out what? Preempted what? An invasion to their quarters. Now, so it has happened before, so it is possible also. Especially you have sent out an envoy, an emissary, and the emissary is killed, for example. This is what happened. So what do? You also plan to what?
Preemptive strike. You take care of it before it
Exactly. You plan to take care of it before
it gets out of hand.
Before it gets out of hand. That's good. So in order not to get out of hand, there can be what? Preemption. It is allowed now. Not only just waiting for what? Them to come to your quarters. Now, it is possible because in this case, there's wrong. They have done wrong against you, and then you have to preempt so that put some fear into them that the caravan of Allah cannot be stopped. No obstacle should be placed, no hindrance in the path of da'wah. Now, this is his opinion.
But what about if there was no action taken against the Muslim, for example, but the commander, let's say, for them, but the commander of the Muslim has a ghalaba to zanna that they're gonna do something. In that case, is it justified? In that case, would they be allowed to still?
They don't hear what you are saying.
Let's say, for example, there is prophet or the leader of the Muslim, for example, sent an army outside, and there's a group they're watching, but they didn't do anything yet. But he thinks that they are most likely going to do something. In that case, is it also allowed, like here is mentioned,
in this case, we believe he has to wait now because the intention is to give da'wah, and the preemption is not to what? Make sure that no obstacles are placed now. And here we found that there's a precedence. One of the emissaries of the believers was killed now. But the opponents did not know when the prophets will attack now. So their preemption became necessary now. I think we have done with this. I think we have done with this aspect of the facts of Tawheed. Now we have finished with this chapter, and we can go on, right?
No, we can go on.
So we are going to the next chapter. Bismillah, go on.
قال المؤلف رحمه الله باب تفسير التوحيد وشهادة أن لا إله إلا الله وقول الله تعالى أولئك الذين يدعون يبتغون إلى ربهم الوسيلة أيهم أقرب.
This chapter, Babu Tafsir Tawheed wa Shahadati an La ilaha illallah, the meaning of what? Tawheed. Further explanation of Tawheed and testimony or witness that there is no deity but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This chapter is specifically designed or designated for what? For the chapter of explaining, elaborating the meaning of Tawheed, Islamic monotheism, and also the testimony or witness that there is no deity but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No deity worthy of worship but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, أُولَٰئِكَ الَّذِينَ يَدْعُونَ يَبْتَغُونَ إِلَىٰ رَبِّهِمْ وَسِيلَةً أَيُّهُمْ أَقْرَبُ. This is an ayah from the Quran, that those that you are invoking, subhanallah, they are people. They invoke righteous people, prophets, and what have you. They want to use them as intermediaries to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And they themselves, the ones, those prophets, those pious people that you are invoking, you are calling upon, they themselves, they are what? They are seeking a path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Does that make sense to you? You are inviting, you are calling somebody, you are using him as intermediary to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He himself, he needs a path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He himself, he is dependent upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yet you are using him to what? Get to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is an act of shirk. In other words, you are worshipping him. So this is what this ayah means. But the Shaykh will explain it further. So let's continue. Now.
بين المؤلف هنا تفسير التوحيد وشهادة أن لا إله إلا الله بما يوافق لفظها وبما يضادها أحسن الله إليكم، لأن الشيء يعرف بضده، وقد قيل والضد يظهر حسنه الضد، وبضدها تتميز الأشياء. وذكر هذا الباب لتعرف حقيقة التوحيد، وحقيقته هو إفراد الله بالعبادة وتخصيصه بها وبجميع أنواع العبادة، فتؤمن بذلك بالقلب وتعمل بالجوارح.
بين المؤلف هنا تفسير التوحيد وشهادة أن لا إله إلا الله بما يوافق لفظها وبما يضادها، لأن الشيء يعرف بضده. Shaykh is saying that this chapter concerns Tawheed as we had explained, that there is no deity but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that Muhammad alayhi is the messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, in order to understand this Tawheed, this word, La ilaha illallah, you have to know what the opponent, the rival, the antithesis of what? Of Shahada. So, in the absence of Shahada is what? It's polytheism.
No.
So you are comparing what? Monotheism and polytheism. Monotheism is what? The Tawheed. On the contrary, you have what?
Polytheism.
This is how you know it now. So that's exactly what he's saying. So in order to know what Shahada is, you have to know what Ashirk is. Period. So if there is shirk, there is no Tawheed. If there is Tawheed, there is no shirk. Now. And then he says, Tawheed, وحقيقة Tawheed, هو إفراد الله بالعبادة. That is to single out Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for worship. If you want to worship Allah and Allah alone. وتخصيصه بها, and then specifically, this worship is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وبجميع أنواع العبادة. Any form of ibadah must be directed to Allah and Allah alone. Any form of ibadah. Because the ibadah is of forms. Ibadah can be categorized into many facets and ramifications in many areas. All of this has to be directed to what? To Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah is the center of what? All forms of worship. Now, فَتُؤْمِنُ بِذَلِكَ بِالْقَلْبِ. Because of that, you have to believe in that with your heart. You believe in this principle, in this reality that Allah Allah alone ought to be worshipped, and all forms of worship should be what? Direct to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This you have to believe with it in what? In your heart, if your heart. وَتَعْمَلْ بِالْجَوَارِ, and all your facets and your limbs and faculties must what? Must work on this. There has to be a practical manifestation of this belief you have harbor in your heart. Man must manifest in what? In all your actions outside. Your hands, your limbs, your eyes, all must form what? Be directed what? To the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Naam.
وقوله شهادة أن لا إله إلا الله، هذا من باب عطف الدال الشهادة على المدلول وهو التوحيد. التوحيد هو شهادة بالله وحده.
It's going into some technicalities. He says, "Father huwa min babil atful dal al shahada." In other words, it is an indicator and the indicated. What is being indicated here? What is we are trying to indicate is what?
Tawheed.
Is a tawheed, and what the things that will indicate that the indicators is that we have to make sure that all forms of actions are what? Direct to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All the deeds, what they will indicate that this is tawheed or not. So what we want to indicate is what? Allah alone is to be worshipped, the monotheism. And all the practices are the ones that we want to indicate. That's what he's trying to say now.
قوله تعالى: أولئك الذين يدعون يبتغون إلى ربهم الوسيلة أيهم أقرب. وقبله قوله: قل ادعوا الذين زعمتم من دونه فلا يملكون كشف الضر عنكم ولا تحويلا. فدعاه من لا يملك كشف الضر أو جلب النفع من دون الله، هذا هو الشرك، وضده هو التوحيد.
Now, we had explained the first ayah already, but as for this ayah, قُلِ ادْعُوا الَّذِينَ زَعَمْتُم مِّن دُونِهِ فَلَا يَمْلِكُونَ كَشْفَ الضُّرِّ عَنكُمْ وَلَا تَحْوِيلًا. What does it mean? It means, listen to the Shaykh. فَدُعَاءُ من لا يملك كشف الضر أو جلب النفع من دون الله هذا هو الشرك وضده هو التوحيد. If you ask anyone who cannot benefit or harm, you are calling someone, supplicating someone who in actuality has no power to harm or to benefit. If you can do that, may Allah forbid, then that is shirk. You are calling someone who himself is helpless and needy. He is helpless and needy. He needs and he cannot help. But you are all reposing your confidence and trust in him that he can help you. That is shirk. You can't do that. So that's what the ayah means. قُلِ ادْعُوا الَّذِينَ قُلْ ادْعُوا أو قَوْلُهُ ادْعُوا قُلْ يَا مُحَمَّدْ صلى الله عليه وسلم هؤلاء ادعوا الذين زعمتم أو هؤلاء Rasul sallallahu alaihi said that look, these people ادعوا الناس, tell them ادعوا الذين زعمتم, say to them, those who you think that they can help you, say to them ادعوا آلهتكم الذين تدعون من دون الله, say to the deities, the small gods that you are inviting and calling to help you, call them. فَلَا يَمْلِكُونَ كَشْفَ الضُّرِّ عَنكُمْ, they cannot help you, they cannot ward off evil from you. أَدُرَّ كُلَّ, they cannot all of harm, they cannot help you out of the harm, they cannot keep you away from harm. They have no power to do that. وَلَا تَحْوِيلًا وَلَا تَحْوِيلُهُ مِنْ مَكَانٍ الْآخِرِ, they cannot ward off evil of you, neither to transfer the evil from one place to another. What does it mean? Even if your own body is sick, for example, your head is sick, you have headache, It is so painful that maybe you think that maybe let my pain come in my hand. If can you transfer the pain from your head to your pain of your hand? Some people they think like that. Maybe headache is so like a migraine, so painful. If you have suffered headache, sometimes the thought will come to your mind, if this pain will have been my leg, I can handle it. But not in my head. It is touching my brain. Now, can you do that? No. If the pain is in your mind, it's in your mind. If it's in your eye, you cannot even do that. Now, so, and how can you invoke this helpless, these flimsy animals or creatures or human beings, even though they may be pious, they may be prophets, but they don't hold the keys to help and harm. Why should you then call them, supplicate to them, other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help you in the form? Now, so if you do that, may Allah forbid, then you have committed an act of what? Of shirk against Tawheed. Now, and قوله أولئك الذين يدعون أراد بهم من يدعو الملائكة والأنبياء والصالحين لذلك. The ayah intends to mean those who invoke, invite, and call upon angels, prophets, good people, pious people, for what? For help. For help either to ward off evil, to ward off harm, and to bring them help and assistance. يبتغون إلى ربهم وسيلة أي هؤلاء المدعون صالحون في أنفسهم وما ذلك لا يملكون كشف الضر ولا تحويله فغيرهم من الأصنام من باب الأولى. Subhanallah. So they themselves, they are pious, they are good people, but they cannot help themselves. These are human beings. Let alone non-human beings, animals, like trees and so forth and so on. If a man cannot help you, can a tree help you? If a man cannot listen to you, respond to your call, respond to your needs, how can a tree or a stone respond to your call? No. So this what is the essence of shirk. This is what shirk is about. It's about the fact that human beings cannot help you, let alone non-human beings will help you. Human beings cannot help you. Inanimate things will help much less. They cannot. Now, so in our world, we see people inviting all forms of making supplications, invoking of all forms of creatures, all belong to the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for help. This tells you that, yes, another very good, valid, strong opinion, very strong evidence against what? Against shirk and for Tawheed. Now, we are, next moment, next ayah.
That's the same ayah. He continues in the next page.
Next page, right?
No, the same ayah.
Okay, the same ayah. Okay. وقال إبراهيم
لا في الشرح he continues the شرح of the ayah continuing next page والوسيلة التقرب إلى الله
والوسيلة نعم والوسيلة التقرب إلى الله بالطاعة. What it means according to the Shaykh rahimahullah, it means أيهم أقرب أي يجتهدون إلى الله بتوصلهم وعبادتهم له بأنواع الطاعات. These are the ones. They are good people. They try their very best. They struggle to seek the word, to seek nearness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They worship Allah devotedly, very devotedly, in all sincerity, so that they can win the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These are good people in worship. Now, but does that mean that we have to invoke what? We cannot invoke them, we cannot supplicate to them, but we invite what? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We call upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, He is our goal. And all these intermediaries are discarded. If anyone take to invocation of these intermediaries, those persons must know that they are committing acts of what? Acts of shirk. Now, ويرجون رحمته
ويخافون عذابه
ويرجون رحمته ويخافون عذابه لأنهم عبيده ويرجون ويخافون فكيف يستغاث بهم. نعم. They are the ones, they are fearing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they themselves. These are good people, prophets, so forth and so on. They fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They are seeking the hope of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And they are what? They are afraid of his what? Of his torment and the chastisement. Then how can we seek help with them? They are living in perpetual fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because of his chastisement. How can we or human beings possibly seek help from them? Now, so it doesn't stand to human reason. It strikes very hard at the very conscience of mankind to have engaged himself in an act of shirk. Now, may Allah forbid. نكتفي بهذا القدر وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وآله وصحبه وسلم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله